Hi there, welcome to day 4 of our Advent of projects. This is a sweet little box I'm making for you today. It's quite a nice size actually, so you could hold some treats in there. You might even get a little pair of socks in there or some jewellery or something, you know. It's just a really nice size for a nice little gift at Christmas. So it's quite easy to make and it's quite quick, so I'm going to show you the process and then obviously you can decorate it as you wish. You can see I've used the pinwheel again on here, so they just really make your life a lot easier to have some little toppers like this to actually work with. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is a piece of cardstock. Now I'm going to make this one a slightly different colour just to add a little bit of interest, but you're going to need a piece that is 27 centimetres by 21 wide. Now in the UK our paper is already 21 wide, so I'm just going to cut that at 27 just to remove that section off the end. So the first thing I want to do is to turn it into portrait, and I'm going to score at 1.5 centimetres, and then I want to score every 6.5 centimetres afterwards. So the first one will be at 8, and then the next one will be at 14.5. So I haven't converted this to inches yet, but if you wanted to do it in inches, you just need to make sure that these 3 sections are the same size, and then you've got a little tab at the top. I will, when I get a moment, actually convert it for you, but it is quite simple to actually do. So the next thing I want to do is to score into the landscape edge. So I am going to score the top section first. So I'm going to score from the top down to this second score line. So there's the first one. I'm going to score down to this second one here. So I'm going to score again at 6.5. Remember, this is just the top section, so just go down. Don't worry if you go a little bit over, and don't worry if you're not quite there. As long as you've got the main score, then that is absolutely fine. And it's every 6.5 centimetres again. So the next one will be at 13. The next one will be at 19.5. And then the last one will be at 26. So that just leaves you a 1 centimetre strip at this end here. Okay, so now I want to score this bottom section. So this is a bit we just scored. I'm going to score the bottom section up to this score line here. So it's the 3rd score line down or the 1st score line up. And I'm going to start my first one at 3.25 centimetres. So I'm just going up to that 1st score line, and then again every 6.5. So it's 9.75, 16.25, 22.75, and then finally at 26. So this time when I do the 26, I'm going to go all the way up to the top because we want that middle section there scored as well. Okay, so that's all our scoring done. So now what I want to do is to create this middle section, which creates this angles here for you. So I'm just going to take a normal scoring tool and a ruler, and I want to score from the point of each of these sections at the bottom up to its coordinating top. So we're going on the diagonal. So if I just score the first one, and then you'll start to see where we're going. So it's really simple. It's quite a nice quick box if you're looking for something a little bit quick. Okay, so I've scored those diagonals, joining the top lines to the bottom. And again, I want to go in the opposite direction. So you're going to have a half triangle here. and then you're going to have some full triangles. You could do this on your trimmer or on your scoreboard, but I find it's a lot easier just to do it with a ruler and a scoring tool. Okay, so now we need to do some cutting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just burnish the main score lines. I won't be able to burnish the diagonals at this stage because they are obviously at an angle that we need to sort of cut into. So all you'll be able to do is the horizontal lines and then this 1 centimetre at the bottom, sorry, at the side, and it will just help you just to sort of see where I'm going really. So I'm going to start at the bottom, and first thing I'm going to do is to take this 1 centimetre section off this side here, and I want to make this middle section just into a little tab. Okay, so it's just at that angle, and I'm going to do the same with the top. Okay, so that's the first piece. Now the bottom sections here, I just want to cut up to that first score line. So again, if you wanted to, you could have done this on your trimmer. I prefer just to get my score lines in and then I can kind of see where I'm going. But as I say, you could have easily have done this on your trimmer rather than actually score it. There's always that risk that you cut instead of score or score instead of cut. So that's the bottom. So now we're going to move on to the top section. So my 1 centimetre tab is on my left, and I'm going to cut down that very first one. Now this is going to be the lid of your box. So these little tabs at the top, I just want to just cut a little angle on those so it makes it easier to get that tab in to close the box. So I'm going to cut down the other 2 lines. Okay, so remember, this is our lid. This is going to be one of our sides, so I'm going to cut this at halfway. Now if you want to measure this with a ruler or do it on a trimmer, then that's absolutely fine. I'm going to leave that middle one for a second, and I'm going to, on the end one, I'm also going to cut that in half. Now this one is actually the front of our box where this little flap will go, and I just like to give it a nice double edge so it's got a nice fold on it. You'll see what I mean when we glue it together. Okay, now this one is going to fold inside and glue down, so what I want to make sure is that I cut quite an angle at this point because I don't want it to interfere with these side score lines. Okay, so that is now how it should look once you've done all your cutting. So what I want to do now is just to burnish these diagonal score lines. And I find it easier to go all in one direction to start with, just making sure that you bring everything over. Don't be careful not to sort of bend somewhere where you don't want to. That's it. So like this piece, for example, it might get stuck underneath, so just make sure you pull it out before you burnish. And I'm going to do the same again with the other side. So just sort of lift it over on itself. That's it. One last one. You notice I work some from one end and some from the other end. It's just easier that way. Okay, so now your piece will look like this. So we can decorate it at this point to a degree if we wanted to, or I just find it easier to decorate when I'm actually done. So I'm going to pop it over, and this little tab here, I want to glue to the inside of my box. I'll just add in a little bit of glue. Just make sure that those cuts go within those score lines. So this is what I mean by giving it this edge. So the edge we've just done is actually here. So rather than have a raw cut edge, it just gives that nice fold, and it just gives it a much nicer finish. As I say, it's not the end of the world if you cut it off by mistake, but I think it just gives it that nice finish. Okay, so now what I want to do is to join my box together. This is a little bit tricky because you cannot fold it flat like you would a traditional box because of our angles. So you kind of have to glue it sort of in the air a little bit. As I say, just bring the two together. I'm a bit cack-handed here. Let's be afraid to push other bits out of the way just while you join this. So it is a little bit fiddly, and I'm holding it differently for the camera as well. Okay, so once you've got it together, you just lay it flat and then you should be able to stick it. So you've got this line in the middle, but when we decorate that, that will actually disappear. So if you can imagine, this is now the top of our box. Now you might want to actually trim little bits off the side again to just make it neater, or you could round the corners if you wanted to. But I like to cut an angle because I think it sort of eliminates the risk of it sticking out a little bit, really. Okay, so now what we want to do is to glue our bottom. So if you can imagine, this is our front, and what I want to do, I'm going to start off with the flap which is opposite this split flap here, and I'm going to close it down and add glue to these little flaps here. I find it easier to do them both at the same time. I'm just going to close it up, and you want to try and make sure that you get it as straight as possible. Okay, now it might be that your flaps here are overlapping slightly. If that's the case, it doesn't matter. Just try and get them glued down, and then I tend to open it up and get my hand inside, or I use the base of my glue just to make sure that it's nicely stuck. Okay, so I want this one to be my last one to close up. So I'm just going to glue one down. It doesn't really matter. It just gives it a nicer finish if you can do that. So I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so I've glued that one down. So this is the opening. So it's this right-hand one of the opening which you're closing last. You're always going to have a little bit of a gap here because of the layers, but it just neatens it up as much as you can, really. Close it down. Again, I tend to use the bottom of my glue, but you can use anything you've got really that's got a sort of flat base on it. Okay, so that is our little box actually made. Really, really simple, but really effective. So it's a really nice sort of little project to make. So for the decoration, I'm just going to give you a couple of little tips on the decoration because we want to use our beautiful DSP. Now I've already marked this up so that you can actually see. First of all, I've got a square which is 6 centimeters square, which is going to go on the top of my box. I've then got a strip of paper which is 6 centimeters wide, and I need 8 triangles. So you would need I'll just give you a quick measurement on that actually. Oops. So you would need it to be 27 centimetres by 6 centimetres high. And starting at the top, I have marked at every 6 centimetres. So from the beginning, I've marked at 6, 12, 18, 24. And then on the bottom, so if you imagine this is 27, mine's a bit longer, but 27 centimetres is what you need. At the bottom, you're going to mark at 3, 9, 15, 21, and it will be cut at 27 here. Okay, so this will give you 8 triangles. It's just an easier way to do it so that you don't waste too much paper. So I'm just going to literally trim these across. Again, you could pop these into a little trimmer if you wanted to. In fact, why don't I do that? So I'm just lining up my 2 pencil marks with the edge of my blade. I'm going to chop them in half. And then I'm going to turn it around the other way. Just remove this corner piece. And then again, I'm just going to chop that in half. So it just gives you the right angles. And I'm going to use this paper on both sides. So 4 will be in one direction and 4 will be in the other. If you've got any pencil marks, you can take a rubber to those prior to gluing it in place. Okay, so that's my 8 triangles. Just going to see if I've actually got a rubber to hand, which I don't think I have. So you can use a rubber. I'm just going to glue mine ahead so you can see. So obviously you decorate these exactly as you want to. I just wanted to give you a tip to get the right angle on your triangles. So I've glued that one in place. And then you take each one in turn. And you could do them all the same way if you wanted to. I'm alternating mine like I did on my original. But this time I've got the pattern at the top and both patterned of course, but the lesser pattern, if you like, at the bottom. So you can see exactly how it's going to look. I'll just stick one more on so you can see that, and then obviously you can decorate as much or as little as you want to. Actually, I will just do one more after this just to show you the one with the join on here. When you glue this one into place, I highly recommend that you open the box because it's in 2 sections. It's a little bit weaker. So I'm going to pop it on first. Obviously remove your pencil lines. And then I recommend you just open your box and using your fingers from behind just to smooth that down. So you see actually what happens is that you don't see that crease anymore, and it actually makes it quite a bit stronger. Okay, so I would continue gluing my triangles into place until I'd got them all there. So as you can see, it's really sweet, really cute, and really quick, which is what we like at Christmas, don't we? So if I bring the original back in so you can see, obviously this one is made in cherry cobbler. I think it complements this paper really nicely. And then I've just made a smaller pinwheel for the top, so like we did on day 1, but this one was about 9 inches long, the paper, so it's a bit more open, so you can make them as tight or as open as you wish. I then just use some glue dots to attach some ribbon and my little greeting on top. So there you go, that's day 4. So I hope you'll give that one a go, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care, bye.